What's up, Sales RXers? I'm really excited for today's episode. You know that I'm a big fan of social selling and using video in the social selling sales cycle, especially top of funnel when we're talking about outreach. Now, I know everybody listened to Ryan Scalera's episode on using video throughout the sales process, but today I'm bringing you a new voice in the thought leadership space regarding video prospecting. That's Katherine Caldwell. She is the founder of her own consulting company, Catch Consulting, where she teaches people how to leverage video better in their sales outreach and their sales process. If you use Vidyard, you've probably seen her in the Vidyard space as well. She has a lot of templates that are available to users, so she knows her stuff. She's been doing this a while. She's generated her own pipeline from video outreach as well. And she's going to discuss some of the ways in which people can better leverage their video in a tactical way when we're talking about actually recording the video, what they should be doing, what they should be saying, what the format looks like, and how to overcome maybe some of those on-camera confidence issues that people initially have when they start doing video outreach. So with that said, let's not wait a minute longer and let's jump into the episode. One of the things I'd be really interested to learn from you is you were talking earlier about how you have this 5-step framework for video prospecting. Can you walk everybody through what that framework looks like and how it works for you and your clients?
Absolutely. And the framework really comes into play for video prospecting when you need to know what to say kind of on demand. So if you follow the 5 steps, you will reduce a lot of your ums and your pauses and your restarts. And then the beauty of it is that you start to memorize and then eventually you can get off of the framework. So I'm happy to share it. It is 5 steps. So for context, it will be introduction, observation about your prospect, the problem you think they're facing, the solution that your company or product or service provides, and then a call to action. So the way I follow that, for my introduction, I always say something along the lines of, hey, Chet, no idea how often you get videos like this, something like that. So that just enables you to go from talking about yourself or saying, hi, my name's Katherine and I do this and this and this, and then you start to ramble and you're on this whole other script. This is just a quick introduction. You say the same thing every time. It becomes muscle memory. So I always say, hey, I don't know how often you get videos like this, but I'm reaching out because that's when I make the observation about the person. For me, they're hiring a lot or they're posting about enablement tools or they're interested in Vidyard or whatever the case is. And then I state the problem that they might be facing. In this market, it's really hard to book new business meetings. There's layoffs, your team's getting smaller. You need to make the most out of what you have, those kind of things. So the solution is going to be video prospecting. My clients see a 10% booking rate from it, yada, yada, yada. I just give a short solution. I don't really pitch my program. It's just a quick kind of, have you thought about video prospecting? Does it interest you? Are you already doing it? Those kind of thought-provoking questions or statements. And then my call to action is really soft and simple. It's just, is this something you would want to explore? And I think keeping it a little bit open like that and not requesting a specific day or time is helpful. So especially around this time of year where 2022 is ending, I'm trying to gauge interest of what they are looking to optimize in 2023. So that might be the question I ask in my closer is this something you're thinking about for 2023? And it kind of takes that pressure off, right? They don't have to say, yes, I'm thinking about this tomorrow or next week, but they could say Q2, Q3, Q4, and they know I'm not going to push them into something they're not ready for.
Yeah, I like how you talked about the intro and how it's pretty much the same no matter who I'm talking to and keeping it very consistent. I actually saw Ryan Reisert posted a really cool thing where he was call coaching a rep, and the rep opened the first call one way, and then he said, they got about halfway through his mock call, and he said, let's take it back to the beginning. And then the rep opened it a different way. He said, no, go back to the beginning. And then the rep opened it a completely different way a third time. And he said, no, go back to the beginning. And then he did the same thing a fourth time, completely different opening. And he stopped him. He said, that's the problem. You have a different opener every time. You have no consistency. You have no baseline, no muscle memory to work off of. Everything else is just unstructured from there. So I like how you kind of say that, because I'm sure when you first started doing video prospecting, you found it was really complicated to do, and you spent a lot of time redoing videos. I mean, even that happens to me now when I do video prospecting. Sometimes I'll find myself spending 10 to 15 minutes to do a video, and then I'm like, wait, why am I going so crazy with it? Just stick to what I know. What is one of the biggest challenges with your clients when they first start doing video prospecting, and how do you help them overcome that?
I think people think of video as what you mentioned, very time consuming. And so they are just looking for like automatic ways to scale and automatic ways to send as many videos as possible. And that's not the goal. The goal is to send videos to people who are engaged with us. It's very strategic. So I think the first thing sales leadership should do if they're thinking about implementing video prospecting is to take a look at their cadences and open rates. And maybe their video is only going to be like step 5 or 6. It's never going to be step number 1, or maybe you want to run a LinkedIn play. But the whole point of video is to kind of catch a prospect when they are already somewhat engaging with you. So whether it's an inbound lead or maybe step 6, 7, 8 in your sequence, I'm only sending videos via email to people who have opened my email more than 5 times. So I send them 2 emails. On the 3rd email, I'm sending a video, but if there's 100 people in my cadence and 50 people opened my email and 50 people didn't, the 50 people that didn't open my email would never in any world receive a video from me because they're not even opening my first emails. So I think that's kind of the first step I would take if I was in a sales leadership position, is think, how can we make this strategic and not focus so much on volume? Because everyone is like, how can we get the most volume out in the least amount of time? And that is not the point of video prospecting.
So you're a fan of kind of eliminating video stranger danger, which I've heard some people call it, which is firing a video off right away, because it's also like, hey, I want my efforts to make sense. So I already want to send a video to someone who I know through some way or another is engaging with me at least once or twice. Maybe for some people that could be LinkedIn engagement as well. Maybe somebody's commenting back on your post while you're prospecting them. I see that happen a lot. I'm sure you do in consulting in your field. You see a lot of people that maybe you're targeting who accept a connection request and then engage with your content in between times you're emailing them. But you're saying that you're a fan of waiting until the time is right because they've already engaged with you and they already have some level of familiarity. Is that correct?
Especially with email. I've seen video as a first touch point work on LinkedIn quite a bit. But if you think deeply about it, is that really the first touch point on LinkedIn? You know, you've connected with them and you've scrolled and you've maybe posted content, or they're seeing your name pop up. So it's kind of up to how you view it, if that's truly a first touch point. But I do see it work really well on LinkedIn with almost no context. But over email, you will waste a ton of time if you take that same approach.
Yeah. And so you're a fan of using it primarily through email then, if that's what I'm hearing, correct? Do you use video through LinkedIn at all? Do you find that works, or is there a reason that you're primarily email driven when it comes to video messages?
I would say I don't lean one way or the other. There's pros and cons to each. So on LinkedIn, you can only send videos to people who are first degree connections. So not everyone's going to accept your connection request. That's the main downfall. I do think that sending video natively through LinkedIn has a higher response rate for me, though. So you do have to think about what's more important to you. The nice thing about email is we can see who's opening our emails. If we're using a tool like Vidyard or Loom, we can track the analytics of the open rate, where they are, who they are. There's so much that you can look into there. So there really is kind of a pro and con for each. So LinkedIn, I think, is great for the quicker wins, but email is really great for the more strategic approaches.
Yeah. I want to hear your thoughts on kind of like, obviously they've engaged a little bit up to the point that you're sending them an email, and the way that you coach people on when to send an email in sequence. What are your thoughts on the close? Like, how do you close out your videos typically? And what should really be the goal of a video email? Is it really doing what we do all the time, the rest of our prospecting, where we're trying to get the appointment? Or do you ever experiment with like value adds of like sending a video when you're sending a case study that's relevant to maybe draw some extra attention, or do a quick screen share, just showing them 1 or 2 stats that popped out so that they can kind of get like the teaser trailer for the movie, right? And maybe want to look at the case study furthermore. What are some of the asks that you're giving your prospects in that close when you're sending a video, and what's really the goal of your next step?
This may be a little controversial, but I think the whole point of prospecting as an SDR is to find out if there's interest at all and when the interest is relevant. So I don't really care about booking meetings very much. I care more about booking the meeting when it's relevant to them. So the main question I'm asking in my videos is this interesting? Is this something you've thought about? Is this something you would consider? Is this on your radar? Are you even the right person to talk to at all? Those kind of things are what I care about, which is why I also love asking in my call to action, like, is this something you're considering for 2023? Because they automatically are going to respond with their buying time frame. I know there's techniques to get people to buy sooner and all of that, but generally speaking, as a sales development person, I just want to know if someone's interested or not.
Yeah, and I think it's weird that we kind of fell away in sales from remembering. Everybody talks about ABC always be closing, but closing towards what? And we forget that marketing principle of AIDA: awareness, interest, desire, and action. And really, I always feel the same way. Like as an SDR, you're trying to generate awareness. Like people can't give you business if they don't know who you are. And then you have to gauge some level of interest. And even then, it's hard to get them to take a meeting there because they might have interest, but it might be interest, purely interest, no prioritization, right? It's relevant, it's interesting, not on my list of things to accomplish. That's why I love your question about, how relevant is this to you for 2023 or what you're working on now. And, for me, similarly, right? I'm talking to a lot of people about SKOs. So, hey, is this relevant to your kickoff that you're doing in Q1? Would this be something that's interesting to talk about further? Because you get to that third letter of that marketing framework and it's desire. And when you're just asking for an appointment, you're basically skipping the first two necessarily and just going straight for desire. And it's like, it doesn't work that way. Like you don't walk up to somebody in a bar and go, hey, you want to get married? Like you just don't do that. You know what I'm saying? So I love that
Exactly.
you're taking that approach of where I'm more interested in seeing if you're interested or if this is relevant for you so then I can gauge where your priorities are and try to build some urgency on taking some action. That's really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When it comes to video prospecting, I'm sure you've heard it all in terms of why we shouldn't video prospect or why I don't want to as a rep, right? Everybody wants to come up with excuses when something new may or may not work for them and they have to experiment with it. What is a piece of feedback you give to people who might be contrarians to video prospecting or what's a testimony personally that you can give to the benefit of video prospecting and what it's done for you in your career?
I always tell people you are not special. So in every cohort, I take up to 10 SDRs, and there's always a couple that, are not as excited about it as others. The people that are excited about it do amazing. The people that aren't don't do amazing because they don't do the actions and the homework that I give. And I always tell those people, you are not special. No one else here is really dying to get their camera out and record all these videos, but some people just want it more. And so your fear and all the excuses you're making and the things that are holding you back don't make you special or any more averse than anyone else. You are just making excuses is really what it is. So I don't know. I mean, I think with video prospecting, like the reason I started doing it is because I was tired of being hung up on, and I was also tired of making hundreds of dials a day and no one was answering. And I thought video prospecting is this crazy way to get my message across where no one can hang up on me. I can give everything I want to say without interruption. I just felt like it was so much more effective. And the other thing to think about too is video is just another touch point. It's not a hero or a savior or the end all be all. It's another touch point in your sequence that's hopefully going to drive you closer to the outcomes you're looking for. So a lot of people think like, oh, if I start video prospecting, it's going to save me. It's going to fix everything. Well, we also have to talk about cold calling after your video's been watched and all of those kind of things that we coach on as well. So that's what I would say to people that are averse. You're not special. If you don't take a risk, you're never going to get a reward. If I waited until I felt perfectly, business entrepreneurship 101, I know exactly what to do, then I would still be in my first SDR role probably. So take a risk, just try something. That is the function of the SDR role, is to try things and test things. And that's all I can really say on it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And even above video prospecting, when I started using video as an account executive in the middle and later parts of the funnel, my close rates went up 18%.
I went from being like a 22% closer to being like a 35 to 40% closer, because there's so many things you can do with video that are, I mean, like, who really reads email anymore to some extent, right? Like, you want to send a post-discovery call email that's 700 words with 3 bullet points and 2 paragraphs. It's like, blech, you know what I mean? Why not condense that down to a 90-second video that hits on the points, and then toss a couple product one-pagers that are relevant if they want to look at them? Like, there's so much more value and ability, like you said, to get your point across in that time frame than, making a cold call and getting hung up on, or writing a super lengthy email. Email still works, right? Like you said, it's not the end all be all. It's another touch point, but it's about, a carpenter doesn't try to build a house with a hammer alone, right? You have a screwdriver, you have wrenches, you have all your nails and screws. Like, you need tools and supplies, right? And then video can really act like that. So I love hearing that. As we close out the episode, Katherine, what's something that I haven't asked you that we should have talked about?
That's a really good question. I think I could go on and on about what you were talking about, more towards the bottom of the funnel, and I'm having a lot of fun discovering all those different ways to use video there as well. So, for example, I have prospects that ask for testimonials all the time, and instead of giving them phone numbers or booking meetings and setting them up for them, I actually will share the LinkedIn profile on a video, and I'll say, this is my friend Jake, he lives in Charlotte, he works here, this is what he does, he's so nice, this is when he was a customer for me, this is how many people that we helped, this is the result we got. So it already kind of puts that like tangible into their conversation, and once they're referred, they already know. That's like one way I'm using video a lot now, but that's just a whole other space. We would need another episode to go into all the ways to use video at the bottom. So I guess if you wanted to ask one more question, I would say that would be another rabbit hole we could go down.
Yeah, and to your point about the abilities that video provides, if I send someone an email, most likely I can see if they opened it, I can see if they clicked on a link. But in a video, I can see how long they watched it, right? So to what level of engagement did they have in my correspondence. It's a better way to measure, they only watched 20 seconds of the 90-second thing. They kind of got through the beginning. When I started showing them resources, they buzzed off. Or, hey, they watched 90% of the video. Great. That's pretty good engagement, right? 80% or higher, good for me. So sending something that I know now that they actually looked through it, instead of an email where it's like, how far did they read into the email? Katherine, this has been great. If people want to connect with you or ask you a question or get involved or get on the waiting list for one of your cohorts, how do people get in touch with you?
Please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm on there all the time. And then my website is catchsolutions.com, KATCH solutions.com.
Awesome. And we'll have a link to all that in the show notes below, as well as access to the Sales RX community and all of our resources. Thank you to all of our Sales RXers, first-time listeners and return listeners. This is all for today's episode, and we'll catch you next week. Thank you so much, Katherine.
What's up, Sales RXers? Thank you for listening to today's episode. We really appreciate you giving us the time in your day to listen to this week's installment, and I hope you found it insightful. That said, I did make a promise at the beginning of the episode that if you stuck all the way through, we would have a special offer for you, and we do. Now listen up, if you're anything like me, you know that social selling is critical to you and your team's success. It's not just enough to cold call and cold email anymore. You have to be doing something different to stand out from the crowd. Now that said, we spend a lot of time here at the Sales Doctor prospecting and social selling on LinkedIn, and it's very challenging. You have to get information to and from your CRM, track LinkedIn conversations, get prospect data. Next thing you know, you're 5 tools deep and you're spending all your time in this massive cross-reference of data and information. You're stepping on people's toes on different accounts with different contacts. You're messing things up. It's a pain in the butt. That's why I've partnered with Surf. They allow you to float your CRM on top of your prospects' LinkedIn profiles with a bilateral sync of not only activity and information related to your contact, but also they help you find your contact's information directly from LinkedIn. So if I go to a company's page that I'm prospecting and I want to find their head of sales and have a conversation, I don't need to manage a bunch of different tools. I can go exactly to his or her LinkedIn profile. I can add that contact to my CRM directly from LinkedIn. And I can also find their phone number and their email using Surf. The great thing is later on when one of my reps wants to go have a conversation with that head of sales, they can see any activity that I've had, that I'm the owner of the account, the life cycle of the lead or the contact. All the information from the CRM is back on the LinkedIn view. It allows us to sell more effectively and spend more time doing what we want to do, which is having sales conversations. So I partnered with Surf, and they're giving a heck of an offer. In the show description, you'll find a link to download a free 14-day trial of their premium version of Surf. This is a tool that companies pay upwards of $400 per year, per rep, per seat, and you get it for free for 2 weeks with 25 email finder credits. That's right. If you go to the link in the show description now and download the free 14-day premium trial of Surf, you will also be given 25 email finder credits as well. This way you can start prospecting and social selling on LinkedIn without having to navigate between multiple tools. So go in the show description, click on the link, download Surf today. Let me know what you think, and we'll see you on next week's episode.